Okay, so we'll be starting.
Yep.
Yeah. Mrs. Bhattacharya needs no introduction, but let me take a moment to spotlight just how extraordinary her journey has been. She served as the first woman chairperson of the State Bank of India in its 200-year history, where she led more than 250,000 employees through a sweeping phase of digital and cultural transformation. After an illustrious career in banking, she stepped into the world of tech as the chairperson and CEO of Salesforce South Asia, one of the world's leading customer relationship management platforms, driving digital transformation for business across the region. Welcome, Mrs. Bhattacharya. We're thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you. And I'm, really grateful for this platform. Love addressing students and understanding what their, issues are. So I hope, there will be a few people who will have questions for me. It's my pleasure to be able to answer them.
Yes, we have a few people who were very excited to meet you and were nudging me when this talk will start. So anyways, I'll start with the first question about your journey from SBI to Salesforce. So your career at SBI started with an entry-level role, right? And over the years, you went on to lead the largest bank in the country. So after such an incredible journey in banking, what made you decide to take on the challenge of heading Salesforce India? And what was going through your mind during that transition? How did you know it was the right step for you?
First and foremost, I did not think
I'm sorry.
that can be noted. Yeah. So first and foremost, let me tell you, I didn't know that it was the right decision. One never does in such circumstances. But in spite of that, there were several reasons actually why I joined. I already had a very good non-executive portfolio of 6 directorships of very large companies in India. I was also doing part-time consultancy for 5 companies, including one of the bank's international advisory board and stuff like that. But I found the non-executive role a little less challenging, I would say. And I thought that I still had the energy and the willingness to sort of do stuff on an executive level. So this job, actually, I didn't go looking for it. It sort of got offered to me. I was not sure at all because it was an entirely different industry, and learning a new industry and the way they speak and the way they do their business at that age wasn't easy. But then I thought about it quite a bit and then decided, in fact, Mark Benioff, who's the founder of Salesforce, he ultimately asked me to come over to San Francisco and meet his people, meet the executive leadership team. So I did. I went over to San Francisco for 3 days at his request. And then he, of course, took me through a number of things as to what Salesforce does and stuff like that. But what I liked, 2 or 3 things about that interaction was, the first question he asked me was the Great Places to Work ranking and why it was not better. And I was a little taken back because normally people ask about business, they don't ask about their people. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was something that I really liked. The second thing I liked is he showed me only one slide. And that was a slide which has a donut, basically. On the donut, there are the several things that Salesforce does for creating that customer experience layer. And we firmly believe that, you cannot differentiate with products for long because products can get replicated. You may have a head start, 3 months, 6 months, but it will get replicated. What really needs to make the difference is the customer experience. So he had created all the products around the customer experience. And in the middle of that was the picture of an actual customer. Now, that also appealed to me a lot because in the public sector banks, as you know, we've been trying a lot to push the customer to the center. And it's been heavy going. It's not easy because that's not the way we had been formed. At one point of time, banking was something where there was less of supply and more of demand. Today, it's just the opposite. There is more of supply and less of demand. But at one point of time, when we sort of started banking, the demand was huge, the supply wasn't. So bankers used to sort of take customers for granted. And now the situation is reversed, and to reverse people's perspective and make them understand that this is not the best way of doing things is not easy. What is most difficult to change is people's perceptions, I have found. And that's also a very big challenge. But I like the fact that this particular company, it's only 25 years old, and it was about 2021 when I joined it, that it had started from the customer. So it had started from the outside in. It was finding out the difficulties of the customer, and it was trying to address the pain points. And for any of y'all who are wanting to become entrepreneurs, etc., that's how you should look at it. Not that you have the idea for a great product, you do it, and then you try to market, but you have to look at it as to who will be your customer and what problem of the customer is that particular product going to solve. If you start from the customer's point of view, your chances of success are much better. And this company had done precisely that. It had put the customer at the center and then built around the customer. So I was very impressed with that. And he also gave me a book, while I was leaving, for me to read. And this was a book called Trailblazer, which he had written regarding how he set up Salesforce. And there were two stories over there that really impressed me. One was a story where he talks about how he fought and lobbied to pay more taxes in order to, alleviate the homelessness problem in San Francisco. Now, frankly speaking, I have seen the balance sheets of hundreds of companies. I have been on the board. I've chaired 14 Salesforce companies. Subsequent to Salesforce, I was chairing I was member of the board of 6 large companies. And I had not yet seen a company where you fought to pay more taxes. You, of course, went by the spirit and the letter of the law, and you paid what was due. But fighting to pay more, I had not seen that. So there I really thought that they were walking the talk of, trying to ensure that they give back to the community. And the second thing was another incident that he mentions about ordering a gender pay parity audit. And in the US, as you know, there are no fixed scales like in PhDs. They are industry-wide scales. Gender doesn't matter. But in the US, it's not. And in the private sector, it's surely not. And when he ordered the audit, his HR team did tell him that this is difficult territory, because if it's found that there is disparity, you will have to actually make good that cash. And that may mean a lot of, upfront payment. And he went ahead and felt that, that would not be the case, because he had tightly controlled the values in the organization. They went ahead and did the audit, and they found that they needed to pay $5 million upfront to take care of the disparity. Okay. And when he found that, he made this annual affair. So every year we do a gender pay parity audit. And this also happens on account of the fact that we go in for a lot of inorganic growth. We take over companies, we acquire companies. So the new people who come in are not often exactly, on a pay parity as we are. So till date, Salesforce has paid more than $16 million in order to ensure pay parity. So this was also something that I found extremely moving, in the sense that I always thought that, a lot of these values are values that leaders sort of just parrot. They don't live up to them. But here was a company that was trying to live up to it as best as it could. And I thought I could learn a lot from there. Besides that, of course, was the fact that this is the cutting edge of technology. Even as a banker, I believed a lot in technology. I tried my level best to ensure that the bank itself went on a journey of becoming digital, because I could very clearly see that there would come a future when, without technology and a really strong technology backbone, no company could survive. I could see that. So being offered a ringside seat to the development of cutting edge technology seemed quite lucrative, too good to pass up. So whether I don't think I knew whether I was doing the right thing or the wrong thing, I jumped. And like I say that, I joined on the 1st of April, 2020. and I sent a message to some of my close friends, and they came back with a message saying, haha, good April Fool's joke. And I told them, look, boss, this is not April Fool's joke. This is reality. And if there is one fool that will come out of this, it'll be me, because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. But my instinct tells me this is something I should do. So, yeah. So that's how I went in.
That's an amazing journey. I did not expect this to be the actual story, right? Because students these days are always confused. They are always doubtful of themselves, whether if they join some place, and they're always confused if they are a good role for that. And it shows that even after going through so many years of experience, you were in the same position as us. So it gives us a lot of confidence.
And also, a lot of people also came back and said, why are you demeaning yourself? I said, what do you mean demeaning? So you've been the top of the biggest bank in India, and you were a Fortune 500 company, and suddenly you go and join at a much lower level. So I told them that, look, this is a new industry. I've got to learn it. I can't expect to be at the top. You've got to learn from the bottom, and I'm okay with that. It's a new industry. And at the most, what will happen? I'll fail, then I'll come out. That doesn't take away my earlier success, but in the failure also I'll learn a lot of things. So it's okay. You've got to first and foremost take yourself less seriously. You can't say that I have a legacy and I've got to protect that legacy. Legacy? Everybody will forget the legacy in a few years' time. What you do is you try and improve yourself. You try and make sure that you are sort of learning from this, that there is a lot to be taken back from it. I think that's where it all ends.
You learned how to embrace that change.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Lovely insights, ma'am. So I had another question for you, was how did your experience at SBI help you at Salesforce?
So, there are some basic differences in Salesforce and SBI. For instance, in SBI, we never had any money for incentivizing people. Okay. And in the private sector, that's not so, as you know. Okay. So if you want to have something done, you give them an extra bonus, you give them spot bonuses, you promise some incentives. It can be monetary. But I always felt that, I didn't want to be only monetary, because monetary benefits only go so far, they don't go further. And in SBI, because we didn't have the choice of giving monetary benefits, we had to think a lot as to what should be the qualitative benefits. And I have found that, not everybody is enthused by money. Everybody has a different button. Okay. Somebody would love it if you just do a pat on the back. Somebody would love it if you recognize them in front of their peers. Some would love it if you call their families and recognize them. Some would love it if, you offered them lunch or a dinner along with their family members. Okay. So everybody has a different, motivating factor. And you need to find those and you need to use them accordingly. Because not everything gives satisfaction to everybody. In fact, I had thought that, SBI was the only place where there was such a rush for promotions, because in any case, they don't get too much of money otherwise. So promotions was the only thing. But that's not true. In the private sector too, promotions are hotly sought after. Okay. So that means it's the social recognition that you have crossed another level. But even sometimes that is not enough. It's the recognition by the leader, recognition in front of the family that works very well. So these are insights I already had from SBI, which I employed over here. The other insight that I had in SBI again was, we don't have a hire and fire culture in PSBs. Once they come on board, if they have not done anything malified, you cannot fire them. Okay. So you learn to look for strengths in people and use them as per the strength instead of just firing them. So in the private sector, for instance, firing is much more easy. Okay. It's not a hire and fire, but it is easier. But you already have a person who's trained in your way of doing things. Instead of firing them, why don't we find a place where they can really fit in? Because, you may be a very good seller, but you may not be a, numbers guy. So you won't be good in the back office. Now, I might be a very good numbers person. If you put me in sales, I won't do as well. If you put me back into back office. So, it's a concept of fitting the round pegs in the round holes and the square pegs in the square holes. Okay. If you do
Okay.
that with the same team, you can improve efficiency hugely. And I've done this experiment in my in the branch situation where I had 90 people and I had the ability to play around with their postings within the branch. And a branch that was unsatisfactorily run, which is the lowest run that you can get in an audit, internal audit. By the time I left, it was a well-run branch, which means it was one step below the highest level. And nothing was done by throwing anybody out. It was the same team of 90 people. It was a
Okay.
question of moving people around so that they fit the job. So that's again another thing I learned, that, there's no point throwing away trained people. Just try to see why they're not doing well in this role, and is there some other role that they can fit into. If there is another role that they can fit into, depending upon their qualities and strengths, try to fit them into that instead of just rejecting them. Because every time you actually let somebody go, that's the number of hours of training and effort that we have put into that person. That also goes waste. And then the new person comes in, you again have to train them, you again have to sort of, get them to imbibe your DNA. There's a learning curve for them. So, there is a pretty big loss of both time and effort that happens every time you have to do that. Instead, if you do it the way that I'm talking about, you actually begin to see a lot of improvement without having to sort of constantly shuffling people in and out of the organization. So these are just two of the things, but there are many other things that I think, SBI had given me, the orderly way we do things, the structure that we had in place, very clear structure, very clear delegations, and everything, very well ordered so that it was easy to follow processes and all of that. And those things, I think, private sector can definitely learn from.
Got it. So people usually say how corporate is, it has such a cutthroat competition, but you chose to trust people and express your empathy towards them, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
And I
Got it.
don't think we have done badly. If you look at State Bank is just
Mhm.
completing its 70th birthday, look at the way we have evolved. We have evolved tremendously, tremendously. We are not the bank that we were 218 years back. We started as the Bank of Calcutta in 1806, and we are still around. And we have never once slipped off the Fortune 500 list once we got on there. So, you look at the way we have evolved ourselves, that we have a legacy organization embracing change the way we have done it is not easy. It's something that you have to do as a matter of practice. And it is a big strength.
Okay. It's actually a very different angle today I'm looking at it, because as an intern, I'm always scared. Okay, if I'm not able to do something better than this intern, I will eventually get fired. So I did not know about it at all, that this is what happens in Salesforce. So that's a new insight I've gained. Anyways, I wanted to ask you about your initiative, like the Yono app at Salesforce, right? You've overseen a
No,
massive
was
expansion.
at SBI.
Oh, yeah, sorry, at SBI. I'm sorry, yeah. At SBI, your digital initiative, Yono, right? And at Salesforce, you have overseen a massive expansion in cloud and AI offerings. What's your approach to driving these kind of technologies in such complex organizations?
So, one thing is, of course, that is, if you don't have the buy-in of the front line, it is not going to work. You need to get the front line, you need to get everybody on board when you are doing something materially different. When I went in, there was a lot of opposition to even saying that you need to digitize the bank. People would come and tell me, we already have internet banking, we have mobile banking. What is it that you mean by digitizing? And even, that was not understood. So I had to do a lot of things, little things to change their mindset. So we set up what we call these in-touch branches, 7 branches in malls. We had never set up branches in malls before. And these were totally futuristic branches. So they had a little portion that was open 24/7 by 365. And these had the ATMs and the cash deposit machine and the check deposit machine and the passbook printer and the multifunction kiosks. So these were open 24/7. And then if you go in, there weren't any counters. There were only these very large screens, and there were private cubicles. And in the cubicles, you'd have an expert on the other side where you could sort of interact with them. There was a printer. They could send you any documents that they need you to sort of sign or read. And in the screens, you could play around with all kinds of products. And they were all touch screens, okay? And you had desks like, in the Star Wars movies. And they had little screens, and you could play around with your investment goals over there. Because you don't want that to be seen on the walls, kind of. So you can play around and say, I want to go on a vacation, or I want to do whatever, want to save for my marriage, or want to, save for my MBA thing, what do you call it, degree. How do I go about doing that? And it'll ask you a few questions and give you all kinds of suggestions. So these branches, as we call them, I encouraged our own people to go with family on Sundays and play around over there. I encouraged our customers to visit and see what it could be like in the future. So, that way I tried to create an ongoing understanding in the, in the masses as to what a digital transformation would look like. And as for my top management team, I took them for an offsite, and I had all the large consultants come and talk about what they were seeing about what the banking of the future would be. And then I took them down to Bangalore, and we had curated 8 startups to come and talk about how they are looking at things. And after all of this, my team came back totally, convinced that yes, we had to undertake that journey. So that's a way of getting that buy-in. And if you can get that buy-in, believe me, things are much easier. In Salesforce, of course, the fact is we are an IT organization. We know that it will change, and the speed of change is all around us. So in fact, if you don't change fast enough, people start getting worried. What the hell is happening? Everybody else is getting certain things. We are not. There's a lot of pressure on our product teams to deliver more and more services and more refinements on the products that they make. And here, I don't really need to convince them. But yes, I do need to follow up with them that they are enabling themselves, enabling their partners, enabling the people around them to actually understand how all of this works. And we do a lot of self-enablement ourselves. We have a platform called Trailhead. And
what's the platform called?
Trailhead.
Trailhead, all right. Okay.
And actually, anybody can register on Trailhead. Up to a particular level, it's free. So anybody can register on it and get certifications from Trailhead, and you would be Salesforce certified to a great extent if you start doing that. There are little children of 14 years age also who have become rangers. Rangers is supposed to be where you know quite a bit about. It's all of us are rangers. So we get to know all of that. And and then you can be a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, all-star ranger also. But then I think at some point it starts getting paid. Otherwise, you have to get a paid subscription. So, but quite a lot of it is free. And so we do a lot of all of this, and we make sure that we do it ourselves. When I came in, not that many people were rangers. So I decided that I would need to do it myself so that the rest of the team does. And when I did it myself, the others were quite embarrassed because I don't come from an IT background, right? But means as a immediate knock-on result, almost 100% of my leadership team, they all became rangers. Okay, so sometimes you walk the talk and tell the people rather than keep after them, simply prodding them, do it yourself and show it can be done, and others will follow. So these are the ways that you can sort of keep taking people along, so to speak.
Got it. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we're just left with 5-7 minutes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that was, all right. So I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions. And if not, then I actually have a personal question to ask, ma'am.
Sure.
So, is there anyone who wants to ask anything?
Is there anything on the chat? I don't see anything. Yeah.
I'll just give them 2 minutes. Okay, so Bharat Singh wants to ask something. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. This was really a very insightful session. Um, I don't think I'll be the same person as the one who joined this talk right now.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask if, looking back, what is one belief or principle that served you well in the past, but that you eventually had to unlearn to grow further, especially during a transition from the public sector to the corporate world?
So I will say unlearning is also a very big process. And sometimes you need to understand that in order to be agile, you have to forget certain laid down things and learn other things. For instance, I'll tell you, I sort of thought that I was very good at media communications, okay? And because I was in front of the TV a lot as the chairman for 4 long years. When I came into Salesforce, I was told I need to be media certified before I could go before the media. And I was like, what? After 4 years in doing so many interviews. But you know, when you actually go through the media certifications, you record yourself and submit the video to them. They will come up with so many good suggestions as to how you can improve all of that. And then you begin to understand that there is really no point to trying and improving yourself. Okay. Similarly, it was the case regarding taking interviews. I've been taking interviews all my life now. Okay. The moment I got into middle management grade, I've been taking interviews every year. And they said that you need to go through what was it called? Bias training before you could take an interview. And I thought that being a woman, I had no biases. All right. So I was sort of very resistant. But they said, no, this is something you have to do. Unconscious bias training. Yeah, that's right. So I did the training. And again, I found, for heaven's sake, I had a lot of biases as well. You know, these are revelations that come to you. So you learn that, you know, you don't say no to something like this. You actually go and do it, and you find so much value in it. So much things, you know. Then, you know, when I started reflecting, I really learned that I was not asking the same set of questions to both men and women. Being a woman also, I was asking a different set of questions. And why? Because I had certain preconceived notions, and I needed to unlearn those notions. Because people are people, they're not gender-based. You know, there could be certain things that certain genders do, but then today more and more of that is leveling out. Okay, and I need to change the way I see the generations. I need to understand what really inspires them. So to that extent, I think I learned a lot about how to deal with the younger generations. The ideas that I had about dealing with them was not always the right one. And I think, you know, to that extent, it was quite a learning. I would say it was a very big learning for me, that there is so much more, even to things I had done so well and practiced so well, there is so much more that could be added to it. Yeah. I think
I hope that clears for you, Bharat.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was.
Yeah, I saw another question regarding tips to the younger generation, I think.
Yeah, Sharda has a question. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what very specific advice that she has observed people in our generation might be making the mistakes of.
I would only say that your generation is far better informed than I am, right? Or we were, our generation was. And obviously you have many more resources at hand and you are far better informed. But even then, sometimes, you know, while I think this generation has a lot going for it, the newer generations have a lot going for it, I think what is a little lacking is patience. Because you always have so much of information and so much of comparative data, you always believe if somebody else is going ahead, you need to catch up and be exactly at par. look, everybody's time will come. Okay, everybody needs time. Some need a greater startup time and they can catch up later. Some start off like a rocket and then they slow down. So you first and foremost stop comparing yourself to others. You are on your own personal journey. Please understand that and stay on that journey. Have the patience to go through that journey. Don't keep comparing yourself and beating yourself up. Everybody has their own journey and everybody's journey is different. Okay, you are your own unique self. Be proud of it, be confident about it, and do things at your pace, because that's when you will do things better. Don't be impatient. There are times when you need to be patient. Okay, but for instance, if somebody is not getting promoted, like I was AGM for 8 long years, because SBI had a very clear policy that they would not call more than 3 times the number of vacancies available for the next promotion. And my name just didn't come up the seniority channel because there were so many people ahead of me. It took me 8.5 years to just get called for my next promotion. Now, in the 8.5 years, did I just sit in one place and vegetate? No, I didn't. I had 3 jobs during that period. So I moved laterally, I moved horizontally to see what more I could acquire, how much more knowledge I could get, what other postings could I get. Okay, so sometimes it's okay to move laterally. It gives you a lot more exposure. It gives you a lot of understanding. And believe me, the better understanding you have, the more knowledge you have about the various streams in the business, the more you will be updating yourself and keeping yourself current and marketable. So to that extent, just because you're not getting promoted does not mean you should give up everything, give up the job, walk away, and nothing of the sort. You need to be patient and you need to continue to learn and continue to empower yourself during that period. Okay. I remember when I first went into the New York branch, the job of that person, I would finish in 2 hours time. Okay. And then I would fret. I don't have anything. So I used to go and tell the chief of US operations that, sir, where have you put me? I used to work like 14 hours a day, and here I hardly have 2 hours work. And he sort of smiled at me and he said, that's your problem. So I said, no, I don't know what else to do with me. I keep looking at the clock. When is it lunchtime? And then after lunch, I don't know what to do. So, what am I supposed to do? So he said, look, there will be jobs where you will finish jobs early. There will be jobs where you will be very, very overburdened. First of all, try and ask people who are overburdened whether you can help them out. Okay? That way you learn part of their job. You also, create the influence and the goodwill. Second of all, if you're not finding that, go do some certifications, do some courses. You won't find another such job where it gives you time to improve yourself. Instead of improving yourself, you're fretting and looking at the clock every 5 minutes. How is it helping anybody? Learn to understand that every job has its own, parameters and its own demands. If you've finished your job, go do something else, empower yourself, enable yourself, make yourself better. Where will you get such an opportunity? Please do that. So, I really took that to heart. I did a lot of learning during that period. And very soon, well enough, if you really are looking for jobs, you will be a job magnet. Very soon, another job got merged into mine and another half a job got merged into mine. So I was doing 2.5 jobs. And of course, that kept me busy through the day and more. But the fact is, during that period that I still managed to learn a lot of stuff and, enable myself more and make myself more suitable for the organization. So yeah, you have to, that's the only tip I have for the younger generation. Be patient, look around, learn more, and undertake your own journey. Stop
Thank you,
comparing
ma'am.
yourself to everybody
Thank
else.
you. That was very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bhattacharya. I believe that the time you allotted us
Yeah,
is
that's
over now.
kind.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today and sharing such rich insights from embracing change to navigating risk. On behalf of everyone, thank you so much. Your stories and your wisdom. We wish you continued success in shaping the future of business and tech in India and beyond.
Thank you.
One thing is that that really resonated with me was to be patient and to move laterally to gain more knowledge in your career aspects, right? Because me as a person, मैं थोड़ा stuck up रह सकता हूँ कुछ चीज़ों को लेके. So I think that I'll keep that in my mind for as long as I can. Right. Thank you, audience. Until next time, take care and stay curious.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So much, ma'am. Bye, bye, ma'am.
Bye.